Let me start by saying most of these rappers are talking brass. Hand on the Bible, nobody rivals, and I'm only really talking facts. And I don't care how much you sold, you only look good with stats. But one mic, one room, and Corny, you really just holding that.
Hello there, I'm Kelly Darcy. A lot of you may know me from Hot Hits or the Hot Seat podcast. I am here today to talk to the talented artist CJ ahead. Well, it's been released already of his debut EP, Something to Drink To. Now, something that we did talk about a few minutes ago before we kind of dive into that is you have been on my Hot Seat podcast before. We did do something during the summer. We've noticed that your name is spelled CJXY, and that is what I called you, but people do pronounce it CJ. So what do we go for here?
So yeah, I'll CJ is my name. Like it's kind of like a breakdown of like my real name. So CJ is like my real name. And then, but when I first started like rapping under the name CJ, I went on to like Spotify because no one could find me, and I looked at how many artists were called CJ, and there was like 183, and I was just like, oh, like no one's gonna be able to find my music, like. That even if you type my name with songs, like there were still like 15 or 16 songs before mine. So I just thought about how I could maybe change it. And then I think it was my friend Charlie. He said, well, why don't you take off the A and put an X like Young Bane does with his name? And then I was just like see how it goes. And then everyone was calling me CJXY. And then, like, yeah, it just kind of stuck. So whatever people prefer, like, I respond to both. So
okay, so if you had to pick to go by one, would you or not? Because a lot of the introductions to the song is, as well, you have your CJXY.
Yeah, I'd probably say CJ just because that is my name. So people kind of, like I said, people call me CJ. CJ was kind of adopted by my dad. Like my dad called me CJ, still does call me CJ for like a lot of like for all my life. So it's kind of just something I adopted, and then yeah, like so yeah, CJ's cool.
Brilliant.
Like I prefer CJ, yeah.
Okay, so we'll stick with CJ. The last time I was talking to you, you had released a couple of singles. I think you were about 3 singles in at that stage. You were fresh on the scene, but you were making your mark. So we're now a few months later and we are getting ready to release your debut EP. So talk to me a little bit about how you knew you were ready to release that debut EP.
I kind of, like, in the era of music that I kind of grew up with, which is sort of early to sort of like early grime, it was all about projects. It was all about tapes. Who had the best tape? Let's compare tapes. I remember arguing with people. Skepta dropped Microphone Champion, which is still one of like my favorite like projects. Wretch dropped Retrospective. I think maybe the year before, Ghetto Gospel had dropped as well, which is my favorite project of all time by Get. And I just Chipmunk dropped projects. Like everyone was dropping projects, like, and even like smaller artists who were kind of just local were dropping projects. So people weren't judged kind of where now it's kind of like singles. People are judged off their singles. Before, like even like American wise, like people were judged off their bodies of work and how they could put together a body of work. So I've always wanted to kind of like, as much as I've had so much fun releasing like the singles that I've released, and like I wouldn't change any of them for the world. Like they're like each one of them are so different and unique to me and stuff like that. I kind of always wanted to have like a body of work. So when people kind of, if I say like what type of music or what kind of artist are you now, or what, even looking back on it, what kind of artist were you then? I could have a body of work that kind of shows like, look, this is what I'm about kind of thing, and put my stamp on it.
Yeah, and we do have a lot to kind of delve into it because this project does go into a lot of stuff. Like it's not a lot of kind of what meets the eye. I know you had mentioned that you originally wanted to release this at an earlier date, but now it's been released on the 25th of October. So Can you tell me a little bit about like kind of pushing it back and being in the same mindset to release it?
So actually, the first release I had in my head was I was gonna drop that instead of Summer Bop. So I dropped Summer Bop in the summer, and I was gonna drop this. Like there's a few songs that I've taken off and changed, but this project idea was done kind of by the summer, and I was like, I'm gonna drop this now. And then I was just like, I just something didn't feel right with the project, and I was like, right, okay, I'm not gonna drop this. And it was kind of a blessing in disguise. I didn't drop it then because I got to work with KYD, who's a part of my GVO collective. Like the GVO boys, we've worked on so much together, kind of behind the scenes. So it's good to have a project out there in the forefront where it's like, look, like this is what GVO is about, kind of thing. And then I linked up with Mob Dylan, who we'll talk later about in the podcast. And then it was kind of like, wow, things are sort of falling into place here. And then I was gonna release it in September, but I had a lot of stuff going on in September, like early September. Like I got married in September as well, so I was like, there's no way I can just drop this and try and focus on a wedding. Like, it's just impossible. And obviously I prioritize my family above everything. So, and then I was like, right, I'll drop it at the end of September. And then I remember, I think it was 2 weeks before, right? And I blocked out all the noise because, like I said, I'd been away from the scene completely. Like I that kind of dropped off Instagram. I dropped off Facebook. I dropped off even Spotify. Like I wasn't even listening to music. I was just playing CDs I had if I wanted to listen to music, like old CDs and stuff. And then I was like, I listened to the song again because I burned it onto a CD. I listened to the full EP again, and I was just like, something's not right. I'm nervous to release it because it's like, it's my first body of work. I don't want to release it. And then I didn't. And I was like, do you know what? I was like, look, someone like my wife said to me, like, there'll be a sign on whether or not you should release it. And then as I got back onto Instagram, I seen that Tion Wayne had his project dropping the exact same day. And so did Millions. Millions had his project dropping that weekend as well. And I was just like, there's no way. Like, they like two of like definitely Millions, most definitely is one of my favorite artists at the moment. I was like, maybe this is a sign not to release it. And like, and then I started comparing myself, which I don't really do. And then I got nervous. And then I was like, you know what? We'll scrap it. We'll go again. And then, like I said, I linked up with Mob Dylan and we kind of sat down and we sort of picked apart certain tracks and whatnot. And then, yeah, we're here now with what is a finished body of work. And there's no going back now. Like, there's no unreleasing it. I've plugged it too much. I've promoted it too much. So, yeah.
Congratulations on getting married. That is a huge achievement. And we've seen the pictures as well. They're absolutely beautiful. So at that stage, when you gotten the sign that it wasn't time to drop and is reviewed, was that when you decided to kind of swap in and out tracks?
Yeah, there was 2 tracks actually that I listened to, and I don't know, like, there was 2 songs. There was a song that I was sitting on that was on the original tape before I'd released the track list that I took off that I wasn't 100% happy with. And then there was the tune, then there was like, I was like, but I really like that song. So I re-recorded it and I mixed it differently. I got it mixed differently. And I was like, okay, so that song has to go on. And then that was an instant swap. And then there was one song, to this day, I think me and Buns, like shout out Buns as well, he's a part of GVO as well, will never agree on, which was, there's a song I had on there, him and Mob Dylan co-produced it, and he said that's one of his favorite songs I've ever done. But there was something not right about the song. I don't know if it was my delivery. I don't know if it was the concept of it. I was just like, nah. So then he sent me across another beat, and yeah, I was just like, I fell in love with that beat instantly, and I was like, yeah, I have to use that. So out the other one went, and then in went that one. And then, yeah, and then Mob Dylan sent me the intro as well. And I was like, it was supposed to be like 5 songs. And then Mob Dylan sent me like the beat for the intro. He was like, I've just been playing about with this. Like, I'm probably not even gonna sell it or anything. Like, do you want to listen to it? And like, I heard it and I was like, this is crazy. So
Yeah, and it kind of worked out that you did get that extra beat as well, because there are 6 tracks on this project, and that kind of relays back to your favorite drink, which is rum, and the 6 kind of processes or stages that are like attached to that drink. So can you tell me a little bit more about that and about like the correlation of the tracks with the drink?
yeah, first of all, I want to shout out Wavy Liquors as well. That's my family. He runs a drinks business, and they're part of like, he's helped me with the promo for this as well by helping me with a giveaway and stuff like that. But he's a rum drinker. Like he's kind of who like I would have kind of grown up with, and like he kind of taught me about like just in terms of like he was a cousin, but he was more like a big brother. Like I was kind of his shadow for like most of my teenage years, like just following him about to youth clubs and like nightclubs and stuff. Like I was literally just behind him. So he kind of taught me a thing. And like he took me when he first started. He didn't take me, sorry, he brought back this thing from Rumfest about how you should really drink rum. So there's like 6 stages of how you should drink rum, like taste, aesthetic, ambience, things like that, just different things. And I always feel like listening to music is kind of like, it's like drinking. It is like drinking, and kind of like when you listen to something, it's kind of, you go through these steps as well. Like when you listen to a project, you want to, if you don't go through all like 6 steps, you feel like a project's maybe empty or maybe lacking something. So I wanted to have all of these steps that kind of in like the rum, like in the rum drinking experience that you would have had, and translate into sort of audio, like getting that sort of experience and that feel for it.
Do you think that helped you put the tracks in order then?
Oh, for sure. Originally, the concept was just to be, like I said, it was supposed to be a project just of singles. It was supposed to be just something that people could drink to no matter what the setting. That was what I was originally thinking. I was just like, you know what, I have a project that people could play anywhere, whether it's nightclub, afters, drinking alone in the house, don't know where else other people drink, pubs, like wherever it was. Like I just wanted you to be able to, wherever you were drinking, I wanted you to be able to play a CJX song. But then I kind of thought that's not what a project's about. And then when I kind of thought of that concept and I married it, it was like the song sort of fell into place. And ironically, a lot of the songs, if I could go back, you can kind of hear the order in which I've recorded a lot of these songs, and like the order and sort of how I felt at the time while drinking them, like drinking while listening to the beats and kind of absorbing and writing the lyrics and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, because you can kind of tell now when we get into the songs, obviously we'll go into this a bit more. But even the way you were saying there about like the different stages and kind of like your tastes and the like ambience or the aesthetics and trying to kind of figure that out. It is really like that when it comes to songs, because you kind of listen first off and you just take it at face value. And then the more you listen, the more like the lyrics start to resonate with you, the beat starts to resonate, and you start kind of like picking out all these little bits. So I feel like while you created the project for people to just kind of have a good time to, there really is like a hidden meaning behind it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I said, I want to make music that like, I want to make like, like I said, I grew up and I kind of lived like almost like a double life when it came to music, because I loved like pop music. I loved just like your generic, easy to listen to, lyrics kind of don't mean anything, pop music. Like I would have like listened to like people like Justin Timberlake growing up, and like Nelly Furtado and people like that. Do you know what I mean? I would have listened to those kind of music, and then you would have then I would have been listening to rap, and I would have had like Biggie, who would have had songs like Juicy and Hypnotized, but then when you kind of listen to the wordplay on it, and then later on when I kind of got more into the like UK scene, you had Gets, who had songs like Don't Call Me, and like these songs were kind of like more radio play, and they got loads of radio play. But then you had songs like Artillery, where he was like the flow that he used sound like he wanted it to sound like the aesthetic that you would get from loading artillery into a weapon and firing it, and that's the flows that he used, and like the punchlines and how he manifested it. It's just like you kind of, when you see people do that, you kind of want to not emulate, like not copy it, but you definitely want to have that same feel or that same energy for the music that you create. So yeah, no, definitely I wanted to make something that people who just wanted to have a good time could listen to, and people who are a bit more critical thinking could listen to as well.
Yeah, and I think you have done that because, as I said, like the more you listen to it, the more you start to pick out things, but then there is that balance of, okay, well, I can just kind of switch my brain off now and just vibe to the song without kind of deep in the lyrics as well. We know that like kind of a lot of things that you've not even faced, but like kind of things, current things that's happened. Like we talked before about you being an Englishman, being in the scene over in England and then coming to Ireland and obviously trying to settle into the scene. Like you're living up in Tyrone and trying to settle into the scene here. Has that been challenging for you, or kind of what's that experience been like?
Yeah, it definitely has been challenging. Like, I think there's no infrastructure up here at all. Like, the closest infrastructure you kind of get is Belfast. And then Belfast has got its own little scene at the moment, like it's bubbling at the moment. Like, I think there's a few people that are definitely, like, I'm watching and expecting big things from them 2022, 2023, definitely bubbling in the scene. And then you kind of look south and you see like Dublin has like exploded this year, like in terms of like, even from the beginning of the year, even like from our conversation that we had on your podcast up until now, there's people who have doubled and tripled, you know what I mean? Their sort of profile and stuff like that. And then you look at like places like Cork, and even like Cork, Wexford, Limerick, like these are places that are bubbling, and kind of Tyrone, it just seems like it's a little bit behind. Like people aren't ready like yet for hip hop from Tyrone. Like, and it's been it's been like a kind of like a fight. Like, look, like there's a scene here, like and whether or not we all get along, like, and I can't say we all do get along, but there's a scene here, and we've got a duty as people from this county to be like, look, if Irish hip hop, if Irish rap, if it's blowing up, like Tyrone needs to be on that list as well, like with Dublin, with Belfast, with Cork. Do you know what I mean? It has, like, we've got rappers here, we've got a scene here, like and it needs to be shown.
Most definitely. And I mean, you said before with your track 3 a.m. in Tyrone that you were just going to put the county on your back and just take it to places. And I think you really are starting to do that and definitely making noise. But if we look at the scene as a whole, has the Irish scene kind of welcomed you with open arms, or are you still trying to kind of fight your way just with having your background?
I think it's mixed, isn't it? It's like it's kind of like there's been people who have looked past the English thing almost from day one and don't care as long as you can spit. Like, there's people like Bernard M, Adilis, who's been like I said, he's on the EP as well. Producers, there's been some producers, Thornex and Mob Dylan and stuff like that, who have been, like I said, like they've never even given like a rat's ass. Like Aideen, Jordan, like these people like have never given a rat's ass the fact that I've got an English accent. They're like, listen, you're saying you're from like Tyrone, like, and you're trying to do bits for the scene, like, let's go. And then there's other people who, and it's been more in Tyrone, like kind of like people from Belfast, people from Dublin, people from Wexford, Cork have kind of they're easier to network. They're like, look, you're trying to put on for the scene, like let's all put on for the scene, and then kind of get people from Toronto that being like, well, you weren't born here, you weren't raised here, you weren't reared here, like you ain't good. Like it's hard for people who, like I said, there's people that have been rapping for a decade, like in this scene, and not carried and not done what they should have done for the scene. And like I think it's a shame. And like after a while, you kind of think to yourself, well, if no one's gonna put this scene on the back and try and spread it nationwide, like I said, like there's people from Belfast and even up the road in Derry who are like Hyphen is blowing up this year. Like Hyphen is like blowing up, and he's from literally down the road. Like he's from like one county over, but he's like half an hour, 40 minutes down the road. And like I'm seeing people who are like that close, like you're that close, and like no one has blown up from here yet. Like no one's putting the scene on their back. I was like, all right, cool. Like if I have to do it, I'll do it. And there's been people that have pushed forward as well, like this year, who definitely, I think, big shout out to Riz lad, who's been inconsistent, but when he's consistent, like I think he's definitely, I think I'm talking maybe top 5 probably rappers in the whole country. Like, and I genuinely believe that it's just about trying to, like I said, he's a little bit younger than me, but he's super talented. So it's just trying to, like I said, like if I've got to help him, he helps me. Do you know what I mean? Because he's got a buzz around here, and like my buzz isn't like is different. Like he knows everyone. Like he's like he's Straban's favorite son kind of thing. Like he's like people know him and love him, and he's so it kind of like it's a fair trade off. Like look, I'm gonna try and keep you consistent, and we can help each other, and hopefully, like I said, with him being inconsistent and me always been busy, we haven't even done a song together yet, but definitely something we want to do for sure.
Yeah, and it is good to kind of build those friendships, obviously, and have that balance with people. But it's also a shame to hear that it's the people from your county that should be supporting you are the ones who kind of have something to say about it. Now, I remember talking to a couple of the lads from Belfast probably about 2 years ago when the scene wasn't a whole lot up there. And I know they had trouble as well because there was only a handful of them. They didn't have a whole lot of photographers or videographers going around. So there was that kind of nitty picky kind of stuff going on. Yeah. Do you think that could be maybe what's happening in Tyrone at the moment? Or do you think people just aren't kind of maybe as friendly or as here for the scene as they should be?
I think things, unfortunately, human nature is kind of there's leaders and followers, and I think there's people here that are leaders who, do you know what, who are like, do you know what, if I'm gonna listen to people from Dublin or even London, if I'm gonna listen to people from London and people from Birmingham and people from Liverpool, Manchester, why not listen to someone from Dublin? All right, cool, I like the music from Dublin. Oh, all right, but there's people from Belfast is only 2 hours away from us. Right, what's going on in Belfast? Right, they've got good rappers too. Let's see what's like locally. Oh, what Hyphen's only from Derry, right? Sweet. He's blowing up, right? What else is there? Who like there's people who are always like looking for the next thing, and they're like leaders and kind of trailblazers. But until those people kind of catch on to hip hop in Tyrone, it's not gonna have the same impact, and then people are not gonna want to put the money into the infrastructure. Like I said, it's difficult when you get turned away from studios in Tyrone because they don't want to record you unless you're recording like folk music or country music. Like you call in, like I said, there's been times where I've called studios, paid my deposit, and then 2 days before they're calling you saying, just found you on Instagram, I didn't realize you was a rapper. Right, no worries, send you back your deposit. Don't bother coming down. It's like it's not gonna, like, that doesn't help the scene. It doesn't help the scene build. Do you know what I mean? Or working like with producers or like people from Tyrone, and then you recording your tracks and whatever, or you recording songs with them, and then you having maybe a good vocal performance, or just rap's competitive. So if you put down a good verse, I want to put down a better verse, and people being insecure in that, and then being like, all right, cool, well, not going to release the song then, or we're just not going to talk about it, or people being too cliquey and being like, well, it's damn near impossible to headline a show in Tyrone for hip hop, but let's like bring all of our followings together, boys from Dungannon, boys from like Omer and Fermanagh, like boys from like Tyrone, and like boys from Strabane, like everywhere, and just being like, right, let's put together on a show, and we can all have our slots, you know what I mean? And no one having an ego about whether you're first on the bill or last on the bill, do you know what I mean? But so something that will come, hopefully. Like I said, if it doesn't change, like I said, I'll make it change. I've been, like I said, I put GVO on my back, and now Buns and KYD they're smashing it. And I think definitely Buns next year, I think 2022, I think he's going to be someone that people are talking about globally if he stays consistent. And like I said, I'll put them on my back, and we'll ride it. And same way I'll do that for Tyrone as well.
Yeah, and it definitely is, like, it's such a difficult topic, because obviously, like, Tyrone is such a small county, and you do kind of need the full push behind it. So maybe you are going to be the one that's the blueprint, or that paves the way for other people to come up and to kind of open Tyrone's eyes to, okay, well, there is a hip hop scene going on, and we do have this talent and this, that, the other. Does that, like, being turned away from studios and not being able to, like, make connections or organize gigs with people, that must, like, dishearten you or kind of take a toll on you at some stage. So how do you kind of overcome that and still maybe, like, find the hunger still to make music despite being kind of pushed away, say, in your locality?
It's kind of, so two things. My mum always said, what's meant for you will never pass you. So I know, like, if I'm gonna make music, I'm gonna face knockbacks. Like I said, it's different now because I grew up in the pirate radio era, where, like, sometimes I'd pay £10 to try to get onto a radio station. And I'll tell you a story. There was I was a part of a collective, right, with grind boys from Newham, right? And there was about 6 of us, and we each paid, I think it was £5 because it was a weekday, to get onto this radio station that was in North London, right? It was a pirate radio station. So it was like literally at the top of these high rises, right? Like floors like 20, 25, right? And it was like this crazy, like there's a dog at the front, and like there was this guy, and he had tinfoil wrapped around, like the setting was crazy. Like, I'm talking about, like, it was proper, like, grimy and stuff like that. We'd all paid £5, and then the guy was like, right, give us like 20 minutes, and like, I'm gonna get you boys on, I'm gonna spin some instrumentals, and you lot can rap. And we was, bearing in mind, we've been practicing for months, like we were there, and we were like, this is our chance. And then I just remember at the time, I think the movement, I don't know if anyone's heard of the movement, it was a collective, Wretch, Devlin, Getz, and stuff like that. But Scorcher had been in jail. And I remember, like, he'd been out for maybe a couple of weeks. And then Scorcher and all of his friends, like, bearing in mind, Scorcher was like a big name in the scene. Like I said, he was in the same collective as, like, people who we know today as, like, world class, as, like, Wretch 32 and, like, or Wretch 32 and Getz and stuff like that. He was in there, and he was one of the marquee guys. Him and his collective walked through, didn't pay a penny, and we just kind of knew that was it. Like, you're not getting on tonight. Like, these boys have got the mic until midnight. And do you know what I mean? We were teenagers, we were kids, so kind of packed it up, lost our money, and kind of had to just make it home. But like I said, it happens, like, things like down, like, people don't always get opportunities, and, like, it's not like no opportunity that's meant for you. Like I said, if I had gone to those studios and maybe had have recorded with those engineers, I would have never have met the producers that I've met now, kind of thing, and that helped me build this EP. And then if I'd maybe, because I would have been going to the studio by myself, I'd have never have met the artists that I worked with. So, like I said, there's no opportunity that's meant, like my mum always said, there's no opportunity that's meant for you that will pass you. So everything happens for a reason. So I don't really feel, listen, at the end of the day, if I blow up, them studios that could have been a part of something great ended up shooting themselves in the foot for the fact of being small-minded. So it's up to them.
Yeah, exactly. It's best off to kind of find your silver linings. And I suppose what your mom says is really something to stick by, that what's meant for you won't pass you. So definitely, like, fair play to you for keeping that mindset and not letting the other stuff get to you too much. We are here to talk about your debut EP, Something to Drink To. So I think it is time to start delving into that right now.